This is Wickham Sound.
Hello everybody, you're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host Dane Cobain. This is the weekly show where we chat about the local arts news. We have a guest on each week, unless we're doing a highlight show. We head over to the Rhylight Zone for short stories and or some poetry. We have an album review from Twangling Jack Ford over in the Oak Shed, and we also play a lot of unsigned and indie music. As always, you can reach out to me here at the studio by emailing dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. I particularly want to hear from creatives, whatever your field, poets, musicians, designers, dancers, artists, you name it, let me know. You can also find us on Facebook if you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound, and you can listen again if you miss a show. We're on iTunes, Spotify, all of the podcasty places. We're on the Listen Again on the Wickham Sound website, and we're also repeated here on Monday nights as well. So with all of that said, let's head straight over to the Rhylight Zone for this week's short story / poetry. And this is a collection of my poetry. I've been sort of serialising these over episodes lately, so here's some more of that.
Advice for new writers. Write something new every day and read something new too while you're at it. Hone your creativity through cooking and painting or whatever the hell else you think you're good at. Have one good friend and one good enemy. Pay more attention to feedback from your enemy. Learn to not use alcohol as a crutch of sorts. It's not a good crutch and will let you down. Other than that, just have fun and enjoy. It's a roller coaster ride, but it's worth it. Make your voice heard and make it mean something. Blind bitter. Blind bitter biting badly, burned butter, big buildings better built before birth. Bastard brothers breaking bread before being briefly badgered because bored babies by blind bitter biting badly. Brilliant beauty being bearable by borrowing Brian Bilston's book beside Borders Bright Borders, but bad bibliophiles buy backwards before bribing blind bitter biting badly. Beatles beat Beatles because Beatles bleed blue, but Beatles bleed bright blood by being brilliant bassists. Basically being broken by Belgian burglars because Belgian burgers beat both Beatles by brewing blind bitter biting badly. Biting badly blind bitter barrel bottoms before bread blames beer by being bloated brown, burning big bad burps brought by blind bitter biting badly. Bite big baby boy, bite big bad boring blind bitter biting badly. Sticky situations. I got myself into another sticky situation. Nothing major, just another open mic night, another girl, another kiss, another hangover. It's not my fault she plays guitar, writes her own songs, knows the Brian Jonestown Massacre and Tess Parks, makes art and reads Bukowski. She's basically me but better looking. Then I woke up still drunk and sat behind the wheel of a car, my first time ever in the driving seat. I'm 29 years old, neither young nor middle-aged, and I'm not quite sure what's happening to me. What a privilege. So I'm sitting down, keys on my keyboard, alphabetic, so forgive me if I was in Zeus. I can't help it, I don't look at the keyboard much. Eating caramelized onion hummus, more commonly spelled hummus, but for dictionary.reverso.net, the top 6 French examples have hummus 1/3 of the time and hummus 2/3 of the time, with expensive breadsticks that I only bought because the plastic in the box is recyclable, and even that is a lie. Australia's on fire, but I had to check. Searched, is Australia still on fire on Ecosia or my internet collapsed? But at least their Prime Minister's back. Buddy Holly, Charles Hardlin Holly according to Wikipedia. I didn't donate, I tried to plant some trees. Crashed into a cornfield and now a young man, younger than my father, is reliving him. And how can I dance in the face of death? I'm terrified. It's like a barbecue in a zombie apocalypse. I'm eating hummus instead of stopping the barbecue and maybe the zombies. On horses, I don't even agree with riding horses. Chasing foxes, everyone's so angry. Eating turkey, stroking cats, walking dogs or smoking weed, against the law too. I see the good in people and I see the bad in people, but I can't weigh one against the other. Either everything is fine or nothing is. I'm not going to kill myself, but I know how to tie a noose. Surely everyone does. But then, I think everyone can tie a tie. What a privilege to live my life. Inspire me. Inspire me like I want you to inspire me. Build me up, don't break me down. The cracks are showing and you don't want to get caught in the crossfire. I mean to say, there's a war underway and you have to choose a side. You need to be your own inspiration. You should listen as the owls raise their voices. They raise their voices for you. Making it out alive. It's only just the end of everything, as though the sun winked out and turned its back on us. In fact, You might even say, our unhappy world is here to kill us. I won't survive it, but nor will you. We test ourselves by throwing the odds and watching television, anything for an easy life, even suicide. My friend Todd has a book that he didn't write, but someone else used the inside cover to say goodbye. They didn't make it out alive either. The 10:10 to London Marylebone. Don't let me die on the 10:10 to London Marylebone. I know I look suspicious, but there's no bomb in my case, only clothes, and I struggle to stay awake at the best of times. Don't let me die on 2 hours sleep in the middle of my third cup of coffee. Don't let me die in the foyer, surrounded by the stench of meat and commuters' bacon baps. It reminds me that human flesh tastes like chicken with a little seasoning. Don't let me die on the platform. Don't push me beyond the yellow line. I will not go gentle into that good night. Don't let me die on the railway line, somewhere between Banbury and Bicester North. My to-do list is longer than your novel, and besides, I have a driving lesson. Don't let me die on the road, either. Neil Cassidy gave up by the railway tracks with a damaged liver, but it beats being hit by a golf buggy. Don't give me a diagnosis, just give me a good night's sleep. Let me lie in the arms of the woman I love, because when I'm with her, I think I could live forever. Critics. Critics always say, mate, they say things behind your back. They niggle those little insecurities. They hold up a mirror and I look homeless. I am. I've only got food and shelter. I've got nothing to hide but my pride, but it feels good to get a poem out. Funny though, I can write like eyes like lighthouses, but I'm lost for words now I'm a writer, right? Wrong. I just scrape a living. Pandemic. Okay, very funny. There's no need to cause a pandemic, although it's true I ought to wash my hands more. It's April and the clocks have changed, but I only go outside in emergencies. What else is new? Me? I've never felt more connected, more human. I've never been more homo and less robotic. I guess I mean this year is only a curveball. It's not going how I wanted, but I can deal with it. And if I can help someone else, even better. And oh yes, in the meantime there are books for reading and writing. Water. Water pouring from the sky and swirling down drains into the sewers, clown infested and flushed away like rats in a plague house. Wet hair hanging over hangovers, getting in your eyes and in your mouth. Wet cat hair, somehow getting everywhere. I sometimes think my cat is trying to kill me. Frozen water slipped between pavement cracks, hanging icicle shaped when the gritters are out. Hydrogenated gases swirling in foreign atmospheres, not enough to support life, but enough to supply the hope of it. Like when you wash from your eyes on some unenchanted morning while the kettle boils. Water turned to milk and poured from coconuts. Milk-faced kids wearing t-shirts saying, "You're not a baby cow, bro. You're a human being." Recycled water in international space stations, sweat leaking in and out of armpits. Tears raining down like a waterfall. Technicolor echoes. He barely knew me, maybe not at all, and I didn't know him the way I should have. Met a few times under hazy lights at Wickham Arts Centre. He retweeted us like there was no tomorrow. I was looking forward to seeing him again. I have this theory of colour. It's not about race and reflects vitality. There are colourful people turning heads when they walk into rooms. I collect them like butterflies, but without the cruelty. Lionel, you lit up the room when you were in it. Your words had power and still have it. Your name conjures the face which conjures the magic. You were a brother in arms fighting the good fight for a better world, a world you believed in but will never see, and I wonder what you would have made of life after COVID. Something beautiful, no doubt, an opportunity to reshape society into something better, and now I know we owe it to you to make that happen. When I think of you, I don't see sadness, just love and compassion and understanding. They say a man isn't gone until the echoes he left fade away, and so you haven't gone nowhere, you've gone somewhere. The echoes have colour, a legacy of synesthesia. The echoes are strong and getting stronger.
Alright, that was some of my poetry. I'm your host Dane Cobain. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound.
I love the way you look tonight, the way you move like a shadow in the light. You're the most amazing thing I've seen in all my life. I love the way you look tonight. I love the way you hold my hand. strongest, softest grip that's ever known to man. You'll never let go, and why I understand. I love the way you hold my hand. We're still fighting on for each other, through the right and the wrong. We're still holding true. I'd start all over again if you say you want me to. I really love the way you smile. Would you mind if I stopped and stared a while? It shines so bright that I could see you for miles. God, I love the way you smile. I love the way you look at me. I don't always notice when you do it secretly. It turned me right around and knocks me off my feet. I love the way you look at me. We're still fighting on for each other, through the right and the wrong. We're still holding true. I'd start all over again if you say you want me to. I love the way that you say I love you. The way your eyes light up, that I know it's really true. You say it doesn't cover it, but what more can you do? I love the way that you say I love you. We're still fighting on for each other, through the right and the wrong. And what we've learned through our time together on this earth, love is more than just 3 words. Love is more than just 3 words. Love is more than just 3.
Alright, that was some music by Dan Pryde. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and I'm here in conversation with the man himself, Dan Pryde. What was the last book that you read, and what did you think of it?
The last book I read was Red Dwarf. It was something Welcomes Careful Drivers. Infinity Welcomes Careful
Drivers, yeah. I've read that one too.
It's a good one. So I was quite skeptical because it was lent to me by a friend, and I was quite skeptical because I thought I liked the series and would it work the same in book format, and read it in a couple of days. I really enjoyed it. It was just couldn't put it down really. It was it had the humor, but it was also it had some sort of dark elements that you don't really see in Red Dwarf, which is quite a nice sort of different take on it really.
Cool. Awesome. So obviously mostly today I want to chat to you about your music. And so you mentioned earlier you've got a gig tomorrow. I mean, you'll have played this gig by the time the interview goes out, but where are you playing?
Oh, so I'm playing with well, it's like a open mic with a back line basically, but it's like a slots one, if that makes sense. That's in Eaton Wick, it's at the Football and Social Club. Basically, there's a band called Punk Dylan. I think you might have heard of them. Not sure.
Heard of them? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're sort of around this area, more Windsor area. But they host it every other Wednesday. Sorry, every first and third Wednesday.
Speaking of some like of a local band, one of the questions I wanted to ask you are who are some of the other sort of local unsigned singer-songwriters and bands that you're into?
Well, don't know how local we're going, but
local to you or local-ish.
I've got my concept of local is terrible, so I'm just gonna go off on one here. So, well, I got a few friends, on the circuit who do their own stuff, and they're in bands. They do like the covers as well, like Alfie Griffin. I'm fairly sure you know Alfie, Fred Irwin, Abby Powell, because they all write and they're all sort of unsigned, my sort of age. It's just nice to hear other people doing their thing, and it's all different kind of genres and stuff. Band wise, I know the band. I've sort of recently joined the band, but I've sort of joined on as the lead singer, rhythm guitarist, and but there's a band called Red Point. They're sort of, I say they're based in Andover. That's where we practice, but they're sort of all over the place really. Drummers from Nottingham. The bassist was living in London. Now I think he's gone up to I think he's in Wales now. Yeah, so all over the place. I don't know what local would apply to that. No, there's loads of people who sort of write their own stuff, and who you sort of see at the open mics and the various gigs and charity dues and festivals, and it's just nice to sort of get out there and see it really.
Yeah, and I guess it's sort of a bit like being a part of a community, right?
Yeah, because you sort of influence other people, other people influence you, and you just you sort of make friendships and stuff, and you can sort of chat to people about what they're writing about, and sort of different level of understanding between people who sort of write, and I can't really explain it, but it's sort of different to just speaking to someone who maybe would just play covers or doesn't write their own sort of stuff, and it's different kind of mindset. It's quite nice.
And in terms of that, because obviously with yourself you write your own stuff and you also play covers, and I wondered, how do you decide what to do when? Does it depend on the audience, depend on your mood on the night?
So typically if it's a slot or an open mic, and if I'm not playing that long, I'll always wedge a couple of mine in there. If they go down well, I'll sort of swing it a bit more that way. But because I play sort of gigs in pubs like Fridays, Saturdays, some Sundays and stuff, what they're looking for is the upbeat covers. Sometimes I can sneak an original in there, but it really depends on the place. As long as I know the people who run it, and I know they'd be cool, and if the audience are sort of with on side, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd just go a whole gig without thinking about doing one of mine, because it just wouldn't really benefit at all. Yeah.
Cool. And when you do write songs, what does your songwriting process look like? Do you start with music? Do you start with lyrics, or do you do them both at the same time? How do you approach it?
Well, that's a very good question. I don't really approach it. It sort of comes to me, and I just need to make sure that I've got some sort of writing implement with me at the time. Most of it happens when I'm driving, which obviously is fantastic because I can't really start typing on my phone while I'm on the motorway. But, I try and remember what I can. It's been a bit of a weird one, really, because I think the year before lockdown, I had I've finished quite a lot of songs. And then actually during lockdown, I think I started 3, but didn't actually get many done, which was interesting because I've heard, people have told me that they've written and recorded albums over lockdown. Oh no. But I suppose everyone's different in inspiration.
How else did lockdown like impact you? Because obviously you weren't able to do live performances and things like that. Were you able to do any like live streams and things like that? Didn't you do some stuff with the Books Lockdown Fest?
Yeah, so I did a few Thursdays with them. I think I also did their Christmas one, which was sort of part live stream, part pre-recorded in the Phoenix. I mean, that was great because from that I then got in touch with Atomic Bee, and they invited me on to do Frogfest, and I did a few gigs in Paul's Row. It was like sort of organised busking, is what I had really been calling it, because obviously set time, set place, and the restaurants nearby were involved. It was nice. It was because I was a bit dubious with that one, because playing to people eating their dinner, I never know if I'm the right sort of thing. But I never had any issues, and it was nice, and had just good interactions with people, and it was really nice sort of to get back to it. That was some of the first gigs I had coming out of lockdown. But during lockdown, I did like a Sunday in my front garden. That was more to keep myself in the swing of things. I'm not a big fan of recording myself, because I find that you're being recorded, you make a lot more mistakes, and you just go, oh, okay, scrap that, never sees light of day again. So yeah, but it was more for sort of practice and to keep myself going in the loop, because I found lost a lot of sort of musical stamina over lockdown.
Yeah, that's it. And kind of getting your momentum back for when you were able to go back and play those gigs, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think I took a few weeks break over Christmas and spring when it got too cold to go outside, really. And when I came back to doing it, I found I was struggling to do 45 minutes, whereas normally it would be a 2-hour stint, and I'd still be all right to do more at the end. And it's crazy how quickly it will go.
So I suppose it's that like time flies when you're having fun thing, isn't it? And especially when you're playing in a pub or something, and everyone's singing along and that kind of thing. I suppose it does fly by.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I'll get to a place, and I find it's usually if I'm hesitant about the gig, I'll get there and I'll think, okay, it's only 2 hours, say, and I'll start. And if it's a good sort of vibe in there, and everyone's getting involved, having a good time, I find it's like I've set up, started singing, and suddenly it's the end. I think, oh,
yeah.
Crikey.
Cool. And you mentioned obviously that you're not a fan of like recording yourself, but one thing you did recently, you did your basement session with Tap Creative.
Yes.
So was that, I mean, how did you find that? Was that easier because they were filming you, so it's sort of almost out of your hands? How did you approach it? Did you treat it as though it was a gig?
Yeah, so sort of it was interesting, because I was playing stuff that I wouldn't normally play. There's a couple of my own and a couple of covers that aren't really ones that you do in the middle of a Friday night gig. It was just sort of nice to do something different, but then them recording it took the edge off of me saying, oh, I've recorded this, and it being, if it's horrendous, then it's not quite as my fault as it would be if I was recording it myself. But no, I sort of I find when someone else is recording, I used to do filming, so I know to sort of ignore whoever's recording and just act as if no one else is there, and that sort of helped, I think.
So again, with this, I suppose this thing with recording, do you ever record your music? Do you have any like albums or EPs out or anything like that?
Yes, I've got 3 acoustic EPs. They're on Bandcamp. I've got some hard copies of them. They are more sort of to get an idea, to basically to anchor down the songs that I'd written at the time, and then expand on them from there, but have somewhere to start off from, because a lot of my songs, I'd write them, I'd play them out, and they sort of sound different every time. I keep changing things. I thought I can't keep doing that, because I'll just, nothing will ever get done, so I sort of thought, if I get at least a basic recording down of all of them, I mean, some are more fleshed out than others, but I think it's a good starting point. I can sort of start to expand on that, potentially look at recording it with a band, and just go from there, really.
You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain. I'm here in conversation with Dan Pryde, and here's a little bit more of his music.
Don't you think it's sad how much control that the bastards have? And the worst part is that every day they deal us the worst hand that we have ever had. So when will justice come, we ask you? Do you even listen? I'm not sure that you do. You're too busy filling your pockets while you're cutting it from our budgets for you to care about other people too. 'Cause you are one small group of people, we're the whole country. Our lives matter just as much as yours. Food shouldn't be a treat. From the nurses in the food banks to the beggars on the street, it shouldn't be this hard to eat. What about the job crisis? Here and now, I will just cut some more, 'cause that'll work somehow. I'm so lucky that I get to say about every gig that I get to play, but I know that luck will soon run out. 'Cause you are one small group of people, this is the nation. We work our asses off, so you get paid to sit on them. And even when presented with all of the problems, still pay no attention. Don't get me started on what we're paid, 'cause lack of seems to work better. And you say that an extra pack on the back will keep all our workers right on track, so we bask in our multi-million estates. Hardest part of all, so we can all but crawl under this sick regime of and their greed, who look out for the elite, with the rest of us under their feet. And I swear to you someday we'll have the courage to stand strong and say, your reign of power is short now, a revolution comes. This establishment that you lace upon is soon to come undone. Oh, you best get moving now, or else you're gonna have to run. 'Cause now it's one for all, and all for one.
Alright, that was some more music by Dan Pryde. My name is Dane Cobain, I'm your host. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound, and we're here in conversation with Dan Pryde, so over to Dan.
So that's interesting. Do you think that maybe, like, because you were saying, like, you play them in different ways when you perform them. I mean, do you think in a way that when it came to recording the songs, you'd already sort of, I guess you've tried a bunch of different variations of it, so you kind of know which parts of which performances you like the most?
Yeah, and which parts sort of work better, and well, most importantly, which parts I can actually do, because I think everyone's a bit optimistic when they write stuff and think, oh, I can do that, and then you realise you're playing it in front of people. No, I really can't do that. I suppose it also gave me a chance to sort of practice under pressure, really, because obviously if you make a mistake in front of people, as long as you move on and don't make a big thing of it, it doesn't matter too much.
Yeah.
But obviously if you're recording, you gotta do it right. while I didn't really do it right for the whole lot, I thought I sort of worked out whereabouts I am in terms of my own ability, and
Yeah.
either I can work on that or sort of account for it in what I'm doing in the future.
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose coming back to that idea of filming yourself, and like, you're always going to be a perfectionist, you know. If you film yourself playing something, if you watch it back, you're always going to notice something you did wrong or that you could improve. And it's kind of the same, just recording audio as opposed to recording audio and video. It's like a similar thing. You're always going to find bits that, you know, maybe you're not 100% happy with, but it's trying to get that sort of 98% or whatever, you know.
Yeah, trying to sort of make the compromise where you need to, and just think, right, that'll do.
Yeah. Cool. So in terms of like the local area, because I know you've played a lot around in Wickham, but you also like Windsor, Maidenhead, you kind of play all over the place. And I wondered what are like some of the most memorable gigs or most memorable venues that you've played.
Oh, well, I think a lot of venues are sort of that is a good question. So there are a lot of venues that are sort of memorable for their own reasons. I mean, I don't think I couldn't say I've played many places that aren't memorable.
Yeah.
You know, for whatever reason. Some good, some not. But more good than not. I mean, there's the place I've been playing for the past few years now, the Henry in Eton. That's always been, you know, great to go down, play some songs, because they like what the kind of things that I would prefer to do in the covers regions. It's also local, so I can, you know, usually invite a whole load of friends down. They'll, you know, be able to come, and, you know, we can usually get quite a good atmosphere in there. There's the Monument in Newbury. That's definitely way up there. It's a bit of a trek, but well worth it. They do an open mic on a Thursday, and I'm playing the odd Saturday there. And well, they booked me for New Year's Eve as well, which is quite a well. I'm really quite a what's the word? Not impressed, happy, wowed, really.
Yeah.
For want of a better word. Because I started going there a few years back just to see an artist, Gaz Brookfield, because he plays down there occasionally. And I started going to the open mic night, and they sort of liked what I did, and it made the 40-minute drive worth it by a long shot.
Yeah.
And that's definitely memorable. Everyone in there likes sort of the what I do, the sort of the rocky, folky, that sort of stuff. And yeah, I mean, it never short of a good night in there, really.
Cool. And I mean, I suppose, like, because we talked earlier about you doing like 2 hours or whatever. I mean, New Year's Eve is probably one of the ones, like, do you know how long you're going to play for? Are you going to do like 3-4 hours?
I think it's about 4. It's looking to be about 9 till 1. Which, you know, is fine. I mean, that's one of the ones where you start and then you're finished. I mean, so, you know, and usually it's 9 till 12. So it'd be nice to do the extra hour, maybe, you know, get a bit more in there. And, you know, and I mean, they're gonna fill the place out. It's not a massive pub. But we've worked out, you know, how many people we're going to bring, and, you know, we're going to have, it's all friends there. There's no like troublemakers in there. They're really good with keeping on top of that. And yeah, we're just gonna have fun with it, really, because, you know, that's the main thing.
That's it. Yeah. Cool. And in terms of like music and stuff, what do you think makes for a good song?
Yeah, I would say meaning over anything else. I know that there's a lot of artists out there who will sort of try and get a song with all the technical flair and everything. And I mean, if I do that, it is entirely by accident. If I get any technical flair in my songs, it's just sort of it's more it's just more driven by impulse. A lot of my songs, really. It's a great thing to say. Yeah, I think it's just, if it means something to the person, then that's the most important thing over trying to make it you know, incredibly complicated or incredibly technical or challenging. I think if it has meaning, it also makes it nicer and easier to listen to, especially to people who sort of get it, you know.
Yeah, and then they can relate to it themselves as well.
Yeah, and they can give their own meaning to it as well. Yeah.
Cool. And one of the things I want to ask you in particular, because you have quite I would say quite a unique voice, or definitely like quite a recognizable voice, you know. And I wondered if that's something that you've like worked on to develop, or is it just something that just happened? You know, do you think you have a unique voice?
I'll be honest, I never usually remember how I sound. It's sort of something that I worked on and something that just happened, really. I mean, when I started out, started out doing the acoustic stuff anyway, about 6 years ago, I was basically a walking carbon copy of Green Day. You know, I had the sort of Billy Joe Armstrong voice, and I really liked that at the time, and I sort of realize now that while it wasn't you know horrendous, but it just wasn't me. And so I sort of tried to find a bit of grounding, really. And after listening to sort of the likes of Gaz Brookfield, Frank Turner, realized sort of singing in a more natural voice is easier, for one thing, and it's, you know, it's a bit more unique, you know. I don't know, it just sounds more natural, and I really, really prefer it. And to be honest, I don't know how I didn't see it in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it's probably something that I imagine a lot of singers start out doing, and, you know, and you have like your particular musical heroes or whatever, and you sort of start out by copying them. And then over time you realize actually you don't want to copy them. You want them to influence you rather than to like define you, I guess, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. So just a couple more questions for you. One I wanted to ask is like, is music your only sort of creative hobby, or do you have any others?
Yeah, well, so I'd say it's definitely the main creative hobby. I try and sort of get projects on, sort of keep projects going. Sometimes I finish them. But I don't know. I like to sort of keep occupied and do what I can. Don't know. I like I'm not very artistic in terms of making, like, you know, drawing or modeling or things like that. But I like the 3D design sort of side of things, because you can always click the undo button if you mess something up. I'm trying to get into that a bit more, like CAD and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think music is definitely the main consistent one. I'm sort of just, you know, dabbling in other things. I used to do a fair bit of the camera work and the media. I sort of haven't done that as much recently. I mean, I might get back into that. It's hard because that's even more expensive hobby than music, really.
And time consuming, I suppose, as well, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you see a 1 minute video and wouldn't think that took several hours to edit together. So I think, yeah, that's definitely more time consuming, less easy to get a decent amount of, because obviously, you know, you spend the time practicing it, building it up, and then you realize actually I haven't lined up any sort of anything to do with this, any sort of work to do with this, any projects or anything. I've literally just been mucking around with it, and so now I've got to do all that. But yeah, no, I think music sort of took over by storm, really, a couple of years back, and so I've just been focusing on that, trying to get that as consistent as I can.
Cool. And just the last question to end on is what's next for you, and where can people follow you to find out more?
Well, I'm on the Facebook. That's probably my most active social media. So that's just the page, Dan Pryde Music. I'm not playing local that much, and I'm going to try and be as accurate as I can with local, sort of within half an hour maybe. I'm doing one local one this Saturday with Alfie Griffin, who I mentioned earlier, at the Elephant and Castle in Hurst, sort of near Twyford Way.
Yeah.
And that's on Saturday the 6th. Yeah. The next couple of weeks, I'm doing some things over in Dorking. I think there's one or two in Windsor. I'll need to check that. That'll be sort of as I promote it on the page, sort of thing. Really, I try and take it week by week. Nothing on as of yet this Friday, and I think I've got a couple over London way later in the month.
Big thank you to Dan Pryde for joining me. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is some more of Dan's music.
I know it's only been a few years, but we've been through so much together. And I just want you to know I call you my friends forever. So when you need to break down, know that I'll be around to be your shoulder for you to cry on. I know you do the same. At the end of the day, I'm someone you can rely on. We'll keep moving onward, dear friends, knowing our fight will never stop. And we'll keep on moving onward till the end, when the last one of us drops. And we know all our flaws, and we know what makes us tick. And we remember when those outside the group decide that they wanna be a dick. 'Cause I remember when they let you down, and I know she's not around anymore. That must be so tough. So no, life's got its hardships, sometimes the path remains unlit, but we'll keep each other out of the rough. We'll keep moving onward, dear friends, knowing our fight will never stop. We'll keep on moving onward till the end, when the last one of us drops. We always know how to keep each other up. We still know that it's never all straight up. This long journey's just started, if ever reach its limits. But we don't care, 'cause the fun never stops, does it? I know we've had our bad times, sometimes friendships on the line, but we're all made up, and that I know is true. 'Cause we've got each other's back, something some people seem to lack, and I'm lucky I'm surrounded by you. And we'll keep moving onward, dear friends, knowing our fight will never stop. And we'll keep on moving onward till the bitter end, when the last one of us drops.
that was When You're Around by Off Party. Before that, we had some Dan Pryde. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and we're going to go straight over to the Ilk Shed to catch up with Twangling Jack Ford for this week's album review.
Clear Spot, Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band. Most rock music is about a 4/4 beat with the snare on the second and fourth beat. Occasionally you get 3 beats, 2 beats or 6 beats, but since rock and roll developed in the middle of the last century, it has all been about that offbeat on the 2 and the 4, or the 3 if you're playing reggae. Captain Beefheart started out trying to subvert the blues and peaked on his album Trout Mask Replica, made in tandem with his old school friend Frank Zappa, where they tried to re-envision guitar music with polyrhythms, and by ignoring conventional harmony, Beefheart made his own rules, writing on piano, an instrument he was not familiar with, and singing with his bluesy howling wolf of a voice, and squealing and parping in an avant-garde style on his soprano sax. His band spent months learning his music note for note and faithfully recording it, so it is all the more amazing that it sounds like they are improvising with no plan or rules at all. It is a very tough listen. After that, his albums became more commercial, to the point where he was almost middle of the road. The album Clear Spot, which I have twinned with the album Spotlight Kid, marks the sweet spot, where it is still interesting and slightly challenging, but quite easy to listen to. The ideal starting point for anyone interested in exploring his work further. Any serious music fans of my age will have listened to John Peel late at night, and they could not have not heard Big Eyed Beans from Venus, which was played possibly more often than any other song. There is also a song called Too Much Time, which could have been a soul classic with no joking or any kind of weirdness. After Clear Spot, he made 2 more albums that were aimed at a wider audience and failed, and then 3 experimental albums that were much more popular. And to quote the man himself, "A carrot is as close as a rabbit gets to a diamond." Clear Spot, Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band.
Big thank you to Twangling Jack Ford for this week's album review. Thank you to Dan Pryde for joining me for an interview and for sharing his music. In the meantime, as always, you can reach out to me here at the studio on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. There's a lorry going past with something that's clattering a lot, so sorry about that. We'll just wait for you to pass, mate. No hurry. Oh, now he's parking. As always, you can find us on Facebook if you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound. You can also listen again on iTunes, Spotify, on the Wickham Sound website, and we're repeated here on Monday nights as well. So as always, thank you a lot for listening to this week's show. We'll see you next week, but in the meantime, this is some Maz Manzini, Power and Steel, from his new album, which you might even be able to get from HMV at this point, but if not, check out Maz Manzini and the Maz Manzini Band, and yeah, this is Power and Steel. I'll see you next week.
Here lies the power and steel. Steel it is ours, this is the part. Here lies the power and steel. Steel it is ours, this is the part. Here lies the power and steel. Steel it is ours, this is the part. Here lies the power and steel. This is the part, this is the part. Stars, no moonlight. Trees towering up. This vista keeps moving. The noise, the flow.
family. You wanna break bread with someone else. Here's to you, here's to your health. Put your phone upon the shelf. Get the hell outside and drink to each other's health. And light the fuse. Who's got the fuse? Where's the fuse? One of you dogs has got the fuse. Fire 'em up, ready to go. Fire 'em up, ready to go. Fire 'em up, ready to go. Fire 'em up, ready to go.